Okay, so a lot has happened. Emergency podcast. Big Ten just got a little bit bigger. Matt Sheehan's in to break down all of it with us right here on the show. We're going to get to it right now as there's not really any more time to waste to talk about everything we have to talk about. Normal episode coming out here today as well. Two, of course, listen to both of them, but I felt weird putting out our conversation with Jacob Rude about NFL mock drafts and Gavitt games going on in November when this had happened. So listen to everything we have to say. First reactions from all of what's going on between USC, UCLA, and the Big Ten. We'll have it for you right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Listening into Locked On Big Ten alongside Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans. I'm Nate Dickinson. We've got a lot to talk about, Matt. News coming out just minutes before we are talking here. I guess an hour or two now. I don't want to be too dramatic with it, but it's been about an hour or so now. I think I actually am going to post this episode here right as soon as we get done. So this will be our Thursday episode, or at least a Thursday episode. It doesn't make sense to wait to do it. So it'll be here today. But again, as we're just now figuring out and learning that the Big Ten is going to get a little bit bigger, USC and UCLA coming over from the West Coast, making the Big Ten a nationwide conference. So many things to talk about here. But I think the biggest thing is, and I think it was us who discussed this before, the realignment in the Big Ten possibly. Was that you who was on the show?
Yeah.
Who did that? Right.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
I mean, when we talked about it before, it was USC and UCLA, I think, the best schools you could ask for if you're trying to match the Oklahoma and Texas move to the SEC. I mentioned Duke and UNC too. They don't bring the football side of it, obviously. It's
Sure.
I think, again, these are the two schools that could have made that kind of an impact that Texas and Oklahoma makes. And the Big Ten is able to pull it off as soon as 2024, possibly. Now reports coming out just minutes before that they could have an announcement officially from the conferences on this deal by the end of the day, perhaps.
Crazy.
It's a lot going on really, really quick. I mean, I've spent already too long just getting into the first layer of my thoughts on it. What are you thinking?
Oh, God, I could go on for like 18 straight minutes talking about it because it's a lot to unpack. I mean, yeah, it's crazy that this is now a nationwide conference and that the Big Ten is now ballooned up to 16 teams. It's crazy. And like you tell someone this 5-10 years ago that, yeah, you're going to be watching a Big Ten football game in the middle of November. And you know what the weather's going to be? It's going to be 75 and sunny, and there's going to be palm trees out in the distance when they do their B-roll and not a commercial breaks. I'd be like, what? Oh, the Trojans and the Bruins have just joined the Big Ten, and I would have thought you're crazy. I still kind of – I mean, who am I kidding? I still think it's pretty nuts, right? I mean, that you're drawing teams from 3 time zones over if you're an East Coast team like my Michigan State Spartans, and it's a lot to wrap your head around, and it's fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, those are some nice brand names they have in USC, UCLA, but wow, the seismic shift in college football. And I don't know, just personally, selfishly from a standpoint, like I'm not a guy that loves change necessarily. And this is as big of a change as you can get in college football because even like Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC, like they already had some teams kind of somewhat in that region, so to speak. But this is like, holy smokes, man, we're going across the country here. This is nuts. But hey, that's a wild world of college sports we live in now. Nothing's ever going to be the same in college sports. And this is right behind NIL, I think the biggest domino to fall in the change, the rapid change, I should say, in college sports. So yeah, a lot to wrap my head around, and wonder how Oregon's feeling right now. I wonder if they're just looking out the window being like, where's our invite? Hold on. Whoa, what's going on here? But yeah, I mean, USC, UCLA, good teams to bring in.
We didn't talk too much about USC and UCLA when we had that discussion because it's the West Coast. It's so far removed from the rest of this conference. But now that it's done, you mentioned, I think this is not only keeping up with the SEC, this is moving past the SEC and what you have in what those two schools bring in the prestige and the talent in both basketball and football, and maybe even more than that. In this era, when you're dealing with more money and the Big Ten's dealing with media rights right now, this conference decided to be the first conference to say, we're going to go nationwide with it. This is not a regional sports thing anymore. We are going to make this across the country. The Big Ten's coast to coast now. And that, I think, matters a lot and was not unintentional by this conference. Yes, USC and UCLA were going to be the best schools to bring in no matter where they were. But I think it's an added bonus here that they are from the other side of the country, not something that I think the conference itself, at least, is seeing as a negative.
No, and it's going to be like fascinating too, just like with TV times, like, okay, if USC comes to Champaign, Illinois, for kickoff, is that going to be a noon kickoff for a 9 a.m. game for USC's body clocks, so to speak? Or, hey, just like Pac-12 After Dark, where games kick off at 10:30 p.m., are we going to get, my Michigan State Spartans kicking off at pretty much, 10:30 according to their body, 7:30 to the, I don't know. It's fascinating, like how kickoff times are going to work, because maybe that is how you get more eyes on your games. You always will be pigeonholed through like a 3:30 game or a 7:30 game, and maybe that's always guaranteed. That's going to be beneficial to the conferences as well, because that did no favors to the Pac-12 that they play in time slots that are, hey, too late for us Eastsiders. So I don't know. It's fascinating how they're all going to tackle it. And also too, with, to throw the F word around one more time, fascinating. You look at what the ACC just did in their divisions. They scrapped it all. They got you play these three teams every 5 years, and that throws everything out the window as far as like what to plan for Big Ten. I imagine the introduction of these two teams will eliminate all divisions, and it will be a similar thing like the ACC is doing. So stay tuned. I'm sure that announcement will come probably not soon after the official announcement of USC and UCLA. So that'll be another fascinating wrinkle here. So, wow, this is a lot of fascinating talk here from my end. But what other word can I use, man? I mean, it's crazy. It's nuts.
I mean, you talk about divisions right now. There's still divisions. These are obviously two Big Ten West teams then. So what happens there? I mean, but then if they're two Big Ten West teams, well, if they're two Big Ten West teams, then they still play every year. But they can't play, I guess. This is so weird. USC and UCLA can't play for the Big Ten championship in the current format. I don't know what these sentences are that I'm putting together right now, Matt.
USC versus UCLA playing in Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship is just a hilarious, like, and it could happen. I mean, that is an insane, like, just image to have right there. So, but hey, you know what? Another joke I've seen flying around too on Twitter is congratulations to every team. Like, you will be playing in the Rose Bowl here in due time, like sometime in the next decade. Every Big Ten team, like, hey, little Illinois, Minnesota, you guys are going back to Pasadena to play in the Rose Bowl. Look at you guys, just the stadium. But hey, that's going to make for some great imagery, some great photos for your recruits. So yeah, let's go. Let's get nuts. So, but yeah, USC, UCLA, and Indianapolis Big Ten title game. Love that.
I tweeted out earlier today, someone's going to have to explain Bo Borowski to these schools, because that's
oh my God. Oh, those poor bastards. Yeah, that's tough, man. That's tough. But no, that's a good point. Just like bring up basketball too, because obviously, our brains just go to football immediately. And it's because, hey, I'm jonesing for some football. It's the biggest cash driver in every single school and conference for the most part. But that is where it gets interesting too, is like the Olympic sport level, so to speak. And obviously USC and UCLA bring some great talent. Like, if the Big Ten wasn't good enough in volleyball, they just got even better. But also like all the non-revenue sports. But I don't know, like, it's interesting to see the athletic departments and get their thoughts on just travel for these teams. Like, okay, MSU's field hockey team, we're going across the country maybe twice per season to play UCLA, USC. I'm sure they'll, keep them close so they're the same road trip, but like that's not cheap. But then again, Nate, this is probably a big money maker too for all these schools. So it might just be a moot point to begin with. But yeah, I just also think about the non-revenue sports, because yeah, when you commit, when you coach, when you do, you think it's just gonna be a regional thing, but how about not? So yeah, it's my head's spinning here, Nate. I'm starting to get a little dizzy. I need to get my bearings here. Because, wow,
I mean, staying on the field.
It's going to happen.
Staying on the field and on the court. I mean, these teams are. I don't know if it's even worth saying. These teams are ready to compete. Obviously, right away, like for titles.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Lincoln Riley, like that, you know what? I think that's the biggest
I
joke.
think I forgot about Lincoln Riley too. Dang it.
Yeah, like that's the number one thing I think I've seen in my Twitter timeline is that Lincoln Riley ran from the grind of the SEC and just went to the Pac-12 where he can just feast on every other team over there. And not so fast, my friend. Come on over to the Big Ten where we got Ohio State waiting for you. My Michigan State Spartans are on the rise. Penn State recruiting hasn't taken a dip at all. Wisconsin always seems to be fun. How about a night game at Kinnick Stadium? If I could shout out my Iowa Hawkeyes really quick. You think USC is going to survive one of those? Absolutely not. So, yeah, Lincoln Riley, you thought you had it free here for a little bit, but not so fast, my friend. You're coming to good old truck stop country, baby. That's right. So get ready for a lot of punts, Lincoln. That's right. That's right.
Can the Big Ten keep up with the SEC on the football field now? I mean, the biggest concern was that the conference was a little top heavy, right? Now they got more teams. Now they got more teams to compete. Is this something where you're getting close to even?
That is a fantastic question. I don't know if I have the right answer here for it because on one hand, I think USC, especially with Lincoln Riley, is better than Texas or better than the school he left in Oklahoma. But then again, Texas and Oklahoma get to go into a conference with Georgia already built in, Alabama already built in, LSU already built in. I don't know if the trio of Ohio State, Penn State, and any three of Wisconsin, Michigan State, or Michigan can compete with that. But man, wow. So with that said too, like, is Texas really going to be as bad? Because they just got Arch Manning, they got Quinn Ewers. Like maybe they're going to be a fourth giant in that conference. Well, maybe Texas will finally be back. This is how insane I've gotten in the offseason that I'm starting to do my biannual trope of thinking that Texas is really back. So I think that I give the nod to the SEC right now still. But man, this closes the gap considerably, no doubt about it. And it really makes it a two-conference race because the Big 12, okay, they're not anything anymore. Like the Pac-12, please miss me with that. The ACC, they're third place, but I think now that they're a distant third, unless they can pull some sick schools in here, you'd have to make your own colleges at this point. Notre Dame would be the only needle mover, I think, and I just don't think that's going to happen. So, hey, been wrong many times though.
If you're a sports gambler, betonline.net is a necessity. It's a one-stop shop for everything that you could possibly need in sports gambling. Information on the latest lines, analysis from betting experts, the latest movements on lines one way or another, the latest futures bets, and where the real value is. BetOnline has it for you. So if you're looking for somewhere to go, where you can stop going all over the place trying to find that inside scoop and just get it in one spot, it's BetOnline, where the game starts. I'm also incredibly interested to see exactly what styles of play now are being brought across the Big Ten, because they're not playing the ground and pound game over in LA. They're picking up kids who are in 7-on-7 high school teams. They're all sorts of quick and speedy, and it's not the kind of game the Big Ten plays. Obviously, Big Ten plays Pac-12 all the time, at least once in the Rose Bowl every year and all that. So It's not like we're going to see any sort of like huge change right away. But I am interested to see if does the Big Ten maybe start to evolve into a conference that can recruit those kind of positions a little bit better instead of the traditional Midwest recruits in the trenches. The coasts are able to recruit the skill positions, and then those two sides do battle. It's obviously a whole lot different now. And for a player coming out of high school, if I'm looking at from purely a standard of who I'm going to be playing and where I'm going to be playing in the conference, Big Ten probably has easily the best opportunity for you to play good teams, to play across the country and get exposure, and to get a whole lot of money if we're talking NIL stuff.
Right. No doubt about it. Yeah, this was a big win for Big Ten recruiting, and not just because of the introduction of USC, who obviously is killing it on the trails, but yeah, it's just however many years ago, not too many years ago, honestly, like 5 years ago, you could say, even 3 years ago, you could say that, hey, this kid's great. Okay, what are you looking for in a school? And all their top teams are SEC teams because they want to compete with the best, sharpen their craft against the best. And now, just, like we've mentioned, now it's a two-conference race. It's the Big Ten and the SEC. Yeah, SEC probably gets the nod, but I think it's so close that, you can see a lot of recruits be like, Big Ten is probably as good as the SEC. I don't see a reason to not go there if I want to sharpen up my craft. So, it is fascinating to see how recruiting is going to go. Or maybe if you're a tough kid, you say do you know what, the Big 12 is good because it's still by name a good conference, but I think I could make a little more hay there, get a little better film out there. I don't know. I think kids are going to want to compete and go to the Big Ten and SEC, but every kid's got a different reason to recruit or commit, rather. So, man, oh man.
All right, I'm trying to split up some of like the serious talk with some of the more fun stuff too. So we'll get fun stuff in here. Just put it into your head,
Sure.
Matt. Bill Walton, Big Ten broadcast.
See, I'm conflicted on that. I'm conflicted.
Really?
I like him in small doses. I like him like maybe 5 times a year. If I got it, and for like games that like I have no skin in, so to speak. Like,
well,
if I'm
to be
watching,
fair, I don't think you're going to be seeing him that much. He's not going to leave LA. He's not coming. He's not running over to Indianapolis or anything like that. I don't think.
No doubt about that. But like anytime I watch Bill Walton, I'm having a good time. It's because like I'm watching like a Pac-12 night game that, or like, I don't know, some Thanksgiving tournament that I don't care who wins or whatever. It's like, oh, this is fun. But if it's like a stressful late February game, Michigan State versus the UCLA Bruins, to like kind of get a game up in the Big Ten title race, and I'm locked into my game and I got to listen to this guy talk about like bridges or like Oregon State tax for like 15 minutes at a time, like that's going to get a little irritating on me. Like now is not the time for like funny Mickey Mouse talk, Bill. Like I need someone to talk about this game. So I think in theory it's fun and all that stuff. But like, yeah, if it ever gets to like a tense situation where your team's playing and you want someone to be locked in your game, it might get a little annoying here. But I think it's a net. I'll call it a net win. I'll call it a net win for the conference. You know, I feel like I've said a lot of good things about this move. And like when I saw it break on Twitter, I was like, this sucks. But I think in this last 15 minutes, I think I've just talked myself into this being awesome. So this is great. Look at us go. And yeah, I'll say it again. One tie for volleyball. Volleyball just got a lot better in this conference too. That's right. We're not going to let that storyline die down, Nate. Not on Locked On Big Ten, covering all 16 of your favorite teams every single day in the Locked On Podcast Network. You like that? There we go. Bang.
It is a really good point. The volleyball is, I mean,
yeah, popping.
It's got to be is it past the wrestling level now? I mean, wrestling was kind of on its own, but I don't know.
You know what? The Big Ten finally might have a College World Series winner here if USC or UCLA can just get their act together for a little bit. That's the best shot we've had in quite some time. And I understand that Michigan was runner-ups a few years ago, but like, listen, can we sustain that every year? No. But 2 Southern California teams, I think we can get in the mix here. So there we go. Wow. I'm usually against like conference solidarity, like when SEC, rivals root for each other in the name of conference. But like, no, I think I'll do it for baseball, actually. Go Trojans. Let's go. Fight on, baby. Woo, or whatever they say down at UCLA. Do that too when you make it to Omaha eventually, if you ever do.
The media rights still need to be decided here across the Big Ten. Fox has to be feeling good, having already wrapped up its half of the deal, but the other half's still up for grabs. And now that conversation becomes a whole lot different. Again, it's a nationwide deal now for whoever it is who gets that money. I don't know how big the money can get now, though. It's really right. It's going to be unprecedented. It was going to be unprecedented already, but now it's at a point where like this deal, it was before like the Big Ten's going to make this deal, and then every other conference is going to beat it with that deal, using the Big Ten deal as a benchmark. Now I feel like the Big Ten could go out and ask for an astronomical number that nobody's going to match.
Yeah, like live tour money is what they're going to be asking here, man. It's going to be nuts, but I don't know. It's probably going to be like something like Apple TV or Amazon Fire TV or whatever. Something that's like going to annoy me because that's another subscription service that I will absolutely be suckered into buying if that's where the chips fall. But who's got to be feeling just incredible about themselves right now, as if they couldn't feel better about themselves to begin with. But whoever was in that brain trust to start Big Ten Network like that. What you talk about, an all-time idea, an all-time creation of a network. Like, I don't know if they're done getting paid money, but they might as well be swimming in a Scrooge McDuck vault filled with coins, because that has paid off 20-fold, if not 30 or 40-fold by now. That is an A+ decision you make if you're the Big Ten Network creator right there. So good on them. I'm sure they'll listen to this podcast. That's right. Of their 16 favorite teams every single day. Locked On Sports Network.
It is up to 16 now. No one's going away.
That's a lot of teams.
No. Is this end up leading to what people are already speculating, the Big Ten and the SEC ending up just swallowing everybody else, and possibly the NCAA?
Yeah, I think so. That's the only next logical step I could think. Or maybe, I don't know who adds more teams. Maybe the ACC adds Notre Dame, and that causes them to somehow add Oregon in the mix too. And then it just becomes 3 big conferences. I don't know, but yeah, that's certainly the way it's going to go. It's not like these teams are going to be flocking back to the Big 12 or the Pac-12 is going to get stronger by any means. Because, yeah, it's over with. It's done. And I think, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to rack my brain. Like, what other big names are out there? I keep on spinning Oregon's name out there. Stanford, I don't know if that would move the needle perhaps. Obviously great academic standing, so I'm sure conferences would be happy to take them. But, yeah, I think like the Kansas States and the Oregon States and the Arizonas of the world, like kind of just get left out here a little bit. So, but hey, just be better. I don't know what you want me to tell you. It's just get good next time. It's how about that for some advice right there. But yeah, it's crazy.
The only name I've seen, Notre Dame is the only other name. Like ACC maybe should try and get them solidly in. Don't think Notre Dame wants to do that. Another person I saw on Twitter made an argument about Notre Dame potentially maybe being inclined to join the Big Ten too now. Again, that it's a national conference. They'd get to play USC every year. I think that's more likely, but still very unlikely. Nothing's, I don't think, going to stop Notre Dame from staying independent as long as possible, unless, again, they take a really big hit. That's not going to, I don't think Notre Dame makes a preemptive move. They would have to start failing before they end up going anywhere else.
I agree. I think that they could still stand just being independent and then playing the ACC for basketball. Like that seems to be working out well for them. And I don't think even something as big as this changes that. But that is interesting though. Yeah, that's right. The USC rivalry does get moved to the Big Ten if that works out. So I don't hate that. Yeah, introduce Notre Dame, introduce Oregon. That brings up to 18 teams, and then you need 2 more teams. Why not Hawaii? Why just bring them in for team number 19, and then we just need like a doormat team that everyone can just beat up on. Vanderbilt seems fun. Bring them in. How about that? Yeah, rope Nashville into Big Ten country. What are we waiting for here? I'm sure they'd be fine leaving the SEC. They've taken enough licks and bruises down there. So yeah, come on up to Big Ten country. Maybe you can beat Rutgers every once in a while or Maryland. I don't know.
As I said off the top, this breaks all the borders. There are no rules anymore. You can add any team you want. And I think that was very strategic by the Big Ten. Smartly so.
I am going to miss it. Like I am going to miss college sports the way it was. No doubt about that. Like, yes, in the grand scheme of things, this is a positive. And I know I'm contradicting myself right here saying that USC and UCLA joining is a positive, but then flipping around saying like, I will miss the old college sports. But look, like the fact of the matter is that this is reality and this is going to happen. So you might as well just start getting your head around it and embracing it, that if it is going to happen, at least it's happening with USC and UCLA. If it's going to happen, at least you're a fan of a conference that is going to get stronger and not be a team that's in like the Big 12 or the Pac-12 that's kind of dissolving here. So yes, but with that said, it is bummer, at least from, my point of view, that we are going to be missing a lot of these college traditions, right? Like you won't be seeing some of the matchups that you used to like as often, just because that's what happens when your conference grows to 16, maybe soon to be 18, if not 20 teams one day. But there is a nice regional aspect of it, right? Like I did like that, Big Ten football was that grimy, rough it out sort of thing, except for Ohio State. They just play their own game and they win by 100 every time. And, it's a little different in the SEC. It's different in the Pac-12. It's different in the Big 12. But, like, now it's a whole melting pot. It is what it is, though. So, I can't gripe about it because my whining isn't going to change anything. So let's just try to embrace it and, just be thankful that, again, that we are fans of Big Ten teams and that it's a benefiting conference here in these trying and rapid times of college sports. So that's kind of where I kind of ended there. I suppose my whole selfish thoughts, at least.
I still feel like we've only gotten through like maybe 10% of the things
first layer of the onion
here, the thoughts to have. I feel like over the course of the next like hour after we get off this call, I'm going to think of like 20 more questions I could have asked you, or things we could have talked about here. There is not going to be a shortage of things to discuss with this in the recent and future, I should say, days and weeks. So we'll be back tomorrow with talking to somebody about something with this again, because it has to, you have to be. But again, Matt, thanks for joining us to discuss it a little bit here right now. And I look forward to seeing what you think of in the next week about what this is too, because I know a lot's going through my head right now.
Yeah, hopefully I'm back with like more stuff like the Bo Borowski thing, like explaining to them like Bo Borowski and everything. Like, I don't know, just explaining how cold Piscataway in November truly is. Like, yes, it says 30 degrees, but really it feels like not minus 30. Like, yeah, that's gonna be great. So yeah, until then, wow, what a fun way to, ride into the holiday weekend with right there. That's wow, and just the fact that the announcement could come tonight is, how did this not get leaked sooner? This is crazy. Good job, everyone, for like keeping this under wraps. I got to tip my hat there, but whoo, man, what a fun little chat here, Nate. That's and congratulations, Iowa fans, on getting Caden Proctor as well. So there we go. One for the road for my Iowa friends. Yeah, there we go. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Good job for the people at Iowa. It was an offensive lineman in the state of Iowa, so maybe didn't have to sweat too much. But it was, again, you said highest rated recruit in program history, was it? They got in there? Yeah.
Absolutely. They beat out Alabama. That's right. Suck it, Rolling Tide. So yeah, there we go. How about that right there? So go party down in Iowa. Let's go.
Matt Sheehan's on Locked On Spartans. He, I would imagine, will be touching on this realignment at some point very soon on the show. But until then, of course, thank you for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to Locked On Spartans and, of course, here on Locked On Big Ten, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll talk to you again soon, Matt.
You got it, Nate. Always a great time.